here. Been knowing that family for a long time. And before we came up, she was a previous candidate for city council. And one of the things I joked with her about, but in a serious way, I said a lot of people were hoping that you run for city council again. So the tough question for our friend Tracee Lynette Judge is, you move the city council aside to run for school board. Tell us, and you're running for District 5, the retiring seat of Dorita Edgecombe. So since you did that, give us the top 3 reasons why you would want to run for school board instead of city council.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me here, Corey and Pete. You know, I get that question a lot, and I tell you, I'm running for school board District 5 for 3 reasons. My campaign slogan is, graduation is the goal. I have worked as the Hillsborough County School social worker for the past 16 years. For those 16 years, I have also worked in a District 5 school. I've had the pleasure, the privilege, and the honor of working at an elementary school, middle school, and high school throughout those 16 years. And the reason why I'm running for school board is because I am genuinely concerned with the state of education in District 5. And by that I mean, when you look at graduation rates, and when we break down graduation rates between ethnicities, African American males are really struggling in Hillsborough County with the graduation rate of 62%. But it's even worse when you look at only the schools in District 5, the 7 high schools represented in District 5, the African American male graduation rate is less than 55%. That is the primary reason why I am running for school board District 5.
Right, and those are some huge shoes to fill. How, and this is just me asking general questions, how does do you go back and talk to Ms. Edgecombe, or how does that work when, if you win the election? Do you go back and sit with her, and does she kind of advise you on it, or how does that situation work?
Well, I've always been in contact with Mrs. Edgecombe since the time that I began with the district. She's been a great mentor and just a great resource to have. When we had an education concern, she was there and she helped us. I see no reason for that to change once I'm elected to the board. You don't throw away that knowledge, you use it.
I got a question for you, and it's a 2-part question. Number 1, how firm are you going to be if you were elected? And what I mean by that, you know, a lot of people have criticized Ms. Edgecombe for being too soft. They've criticized a couple of your opponents as being too aggressive. So where do you fit in the fight without being called too soft or too hard?
I fit perfectly in the middle. I am as nice as I am, as long as I am allowed to be nice. I'm not afraid of a tough fight. I fight for my parents on a daily basis. Oftentimes when we have meetings, I am the only person that looks like us that's on the district side. When I have single mothers, when my perception are being railroaded or their child is being railroaded, I have absolutely no problem speaking up for our parents, our children, and what's right. I am not difficult by nature, but I would tell you, you really wouldn't want to get on the wrong side.
Okay, the second part of that question for her is, let's take a look at Miss Edgecombe District. It goes all the way to the edge of Progress Village. It goes up and covers Jefferson High School and all of that. It has the second highest percentage voters in the school district, and the demographics are changing. One of the issues I found out on the campaign trail is that in the Afro-American community and the Hispanic community, among blue-collar and low-income citizens, school board members disappear. How are you going to fix that image or that perception?
Well, good question. There are more than 75 schools that encompass District 5. And what I plan to be is visual in all of those schools. Because I've had the benefit of working in the system and working as a school social worker, I know exactly what our classroom teachers are facing. I know the business side of the district, and I know what student support services is also facing. So I think having 16 years in the district makes me uniquely qualified to work with our parents, to be visual, and to understand what's going on in our schools.
Corey?
For those of you who don't know who you are, who's Tracee? Tell us Lynette Tracee Judge. Who is that?
Well, Lynette Tracee Judge is someone who has spent more than 26 years as a social worker. So my heart is definitely the heart of a servant and working for people who feel like they do not have a voice. I think now comes the time where I have genuinely seen how poorly our kids are doing in school. And I think for the most part, the community does not realize this. But when I make statements like, what happens to young men who do not graduate with a high school diploma? What's in store for them? Prison. When I make statements like, when a government is more apt to spend $40,000 to incarcerate a child as opposed to $8,000 to educate a child, that's who Lynette Tracee Judge is. I have seen, and I'm frankly horrified by what I've seen in the school system. Now, the three things that I'm going to focus on in my campaign is accountability, bridging the gap, and the criminalization of education. And what that means is accountability. We are all responsible for the education of our children. It is easier to build a strong man than to repair a child. We have problems when our children don't graduate, or when our children only receive a certificate of completion or a certificate of attendance. And bridging the gap, we are all aware of the achievement gap. But what we're facing now, and this is some of the laws that are being passed down from the state legislatures, we now have all of our high-stake testings on computers. We're now facing a technology gap because our children are not as proficient on computers as their white counterparts, which is going to look like that we're not able to pass these tests. And if you're not able to pass these FAFSA tests, and formerly FCAT tests, then you don't receive a high school diploma. You receive a certificate of attendance or a certificate of completion. And the criminalization of education, let me be clear. I truly believe that if two kids get into a fight, there should be some type of consequence. It doesn't necessarily have to be out of school suspension, because that doesn't help our kids. But we have to come up with better things. But when I tell you, if a 6-year-old is having a temper tantrum, there is absolutely no reason in the world for that child to be handcuffed. If you cannot diffuse a 6-year-old, then maybe education is not for you.
Well, you heard it right. Every time I see her, I call her city councilman, but she's right.